when it came to naming the AP, I had so many different ideas and so many different concepts, and I kind of overthought it, I think. Whereas with the name Nescient, it was always in the back burner, and I always had it kind of written down in a notebook somewhere, and it took a while to kind of get used to. And I think after a while kind of sitting on it, we all kind of agreed it was a really good name. And basically the definition of it is, it's an ignorant perspective without understanding everything. So if you take ignorance in its definition, it's kind of understanding both sides or both points of the argument and ignoring it and kind of facing one way because you truly believe that or whatever, you know what I mean? Whereas Nescient is almost the same kind of thing, the same attitude, but without having all the information at heart. And I think that really personifies how we are right now, in terms of how we take in information and how we have the ability to push our opinion out there all the time. At every moment we have something on the phone that says, I think this, so therefore it is, you know. And I think we have a difficulty to distinguish what's truth and what's fact and what's real and what's not. And I think we like to think that certain things are real when really it's much more complicated than just kind of saying like this is this and that is that. But with Nescient, I think the personification of how we are as a society these days, I think it's a really good point, because it doesn't sugarcoat it. It doesn't say good things versus bad things. It just says how we are. We're all Nescient in a way because we all sit there and we all think certain things, or how things should be done and how things should be run. And it's difficult to admit sometimes that things aren't the way they should be, and it's not like I agree with it. It's not me personally saying, oh, this is that and this is that and I don't agree with you or don't agree with this, but I think in terms of how we express ourselves and how we get our point across doesn't always come from the most thought out or researched perspective. Not everybody, but in a way where in a way where we don't respect each other's opinion if we don't agree with each other. It's really weird, you know. I think some people with the best of intentions and the best of minds can also come from a perspective where it's a bit difficult to really, I don't know, for me to understand it from an ethical point of view, but also from an intelligent point of view. And I'm not calling everybody stupid at all. I just think there's something to be said for the way everything is so quick these days, the way information is just pushed at your face all the time. And I think with the points on this record, with each subject matter with the songs, it doesn't bode well to kind of sit here and say they're all happy. They're not happy songs at all. They're difficult subjects, but I think that's the main goal for me as a writer, is to talk about things that haven't been talked about yet and talk about things that are challenging and are confrontational. And with this, I thought it was very important to kind of do it, because I think as an artist, if you want to call us that, we have an obligation to kind of put a stamp on things that we're living through. Because when people look, if people look back at the stuff we do, you know, if we're you know, lucky enough to have fans when we're old and decrepit, and you know, I want them to be understand where we were and what we were saying at the time. With this song in itself, though, I think it really came from an environmental crisis kind of standpoint. I think with the division between that, you have kind of like, again, with different political affiliations, it also feeds into the age thing, the age division, in terms of, and it kind of really sparked from the Greta Thunberg thing. You know, as much as people don't really respect her, and some people do, it's really difficult to understand how some people do and some people don't in terms of the information presented to them. And it really got me that I think people that deny that what she's saying is not necessarily fact or truth, but there is some reality in it. It became more of like, it became more of like a mob mentality, because I saw so many detrimental things. No matter what you believe, I don't think you should really kind of go after a child. And it made me angry. So there are certain lyrics on there that kind of ask questions and kind of, again, it's quite confrontational, but I think there's a reason why that is so important these days, because people need to be asking these questions. I think people need to really, really, really look at who they are and why they are and what they're going to leave behind for a future generation. Whether you respect her or not, you know what I mean? I don't think you should treat it with such disdain and such nescience.